Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Mailbox for the 14th of June 2011. My name is Totalbiscuit, bringing you your daily dose of community interaction, daily questions, discussion, and gaming stuff. And you can email in mailbox at cynicalbrit.com, that is mailbox at cynicalbrit.com, with topics for future shows. Gameplay in the background is from Post-Apocalyptic Mayhem, which I did a WTF is of some time ago, and has released its first DLC pack for free, containing 3 new cars and a new track. And I have to say, it's an extremely enjoyable little indie racer, available for $10, and it has assault flamingos in it, so I would certainly recommend it. I'm a little bit iffy on how the scoring system works, but aside from that, it is very enjoyable, and sadly nobody's playing it online at the minute. It would be good if that were to change. This one comes in from Scott that says, DLC is an iffy topic in the gaming community, and some people believe that DLC is needed to increase the longevity of the game, while others think this added content should have just been included when they released the game. A good example of this would be Resident Evil 5. On release, the game did not contain a versus mode. Later on, Capcom released the DLC for the game, adding this feature. The size of the DLC was only 2 megabytes. Now, I'm no game programmer, but I think it would be much larger than that to add this feature, essentially fobbing people off to try and capitalize on something that should have been standard. I feel DLC is overpriced and in most cases far too short for what you are paying. Mass Effect 2 DLC comes to mind. What are your thoughts on DLC, and how has it changed the way developers make content for release? Well, sadly, it's not just developers. It's actually mostly the publisher that makes these kind of decisions. They say, oh, well, you know, we want to monetize it this way and so forth. They're the ones that generally organize that stuff, and the developer usually has to toe the line in that regard. The Resident Evil 5 DLC, as well as I believe some of the DLC for BioShock and things like that, were prime examples of stuff that was already on the disc, and you were just buying an unlocked code for it. If it is already on the disc, there is absolutely no excuse. My rule for DLC is this: if it can be made available when the game goes live and was developed before the game's actual shelf release, it should be free. And the rationale and reason behind that is that, as far as I'm concerned, you are paying for the development up until the point of release. Now, I don't care that it goes gold maybe a week before that. If they've suddenly managed to finish off a feature in that week's time, it should be in the game on release as a day one patch or free DLC. And hell, if you actually made it free DLC, think about how much consumer goodwill you could generate. And it's hilarious because it's so easy. It's like you are finishing off a feature that probably should have been in the game anyway, but you're marketing it as free DLC. And you know what? The vast majority of people will actually really like that, even though it's obviously just something they should have finished anyway. Dragon Age did this with Shale. Now, Shale, the character, and of course the associated quest with it, came with any new copy of Dragon Age, and the point of it was to discourage used purchases. It was part of EA's Project $10 program, which, personally, I do not have a problem with. Yes, used game sales do harm both developers and publishers significantly, but I don't think that punishing people for buying used is a good way to do it. I think incentivizing buying new is the better way to do things, and certainly used game sales should not be illegal. I mean, what an absurd idea that is. The point is that Shale was part of the game, or at least was supposed to be part of the game, and they managed to finish her up before launch and said, right, okay, well, this is now free DLC to anyone that buys the game new. It's interesting, though, because Dragon Age also has an example of this done wrong, which was Warden's Keep. Warden's Keep was also done before the game's release and only available in the special edition of the game or for purchase on its own. That is awful. And Dragon Age has become notorious for having an NPC in your camp that tries to sell you DLC, which is perhaps the most immersion-breaking thing I have ever seen in my life. So Dragon Age is an example of both Launch Day DLC done right and Launch Day DLC done wrong, and BioWare more often than not gets DLC wrong. I'd say that some of the Mass Effect 2 stuff was pretty good, but the rest of it was pretty awful, and most of the Dragon Age DLC was also terrible. So yes, I can understand where you're coming from there. But yes, if it's on the disc, then there is no excuse for paying to unlock it. It's absolute, complete, and total garbage. There's no way that should be happening. And developers should really think about exactly how they want their consumers to perceive them in future, because that will annoy people. It really, really does. If people get the impression they're being nickel and dimed, they are more likely to either 1, try and buy it used, or 2, God forbid, pirate it. And then you don't get anything. And that's what happens when you push your customers too far. You have to treat your customers with respect. They have to feel that they are buying a complete product. That's the worst thing in the world. I'll pay $60 for this game, and actually, I'm not getting all of it. There are bits that have been portioned off and sliced into individual chunks that are now being sold or put in for pre-orders and things like that, which of course is the perfect segue to the next email that comes in from David that says, I'm sure you're well aware of the recent posts popping up on Reddit and the like discussing the pre-order bonus available for Battlefield 3. It seems that a great number of people are attempting to plan a boycott and are taking it upon themselves to send messages to the developers and publishers in protest of the pre-order bonuses. I, for one, fail to see what the problem is with the way EA are handling the pre-order bonuses for Battlefield 3. All pre-orders are automatically classed as limited edition at no extra charge, and this gives the buyer free access to a map pack. If one also pre-orders at selected retailers, then they also get DLC in the form of particular weapons. I've seen no evidence to suggest that these weapons will in any way unbalance the game, and I honestly believe that the outcry is unjustified. It's not like the publishers are cutting essential content for the game in an effort to screw over their consumers. Rather, it seems they're offering a reward to loyal fans picking up the game on day one and offering an incentive to others who are on the fence. Putting aside the likelihood that many of the boycotters will be playing the game on day one, see Modern Warfare 2, how do you feel about the justification for the boycott? Do you agree with it? Or what is your opinion on free bonuses that are offered to people who pre-order games? I absolutely agree with the boycott, without question, and I will be joining it. I will not be buying Battlefield 3 unless they repeal this, because you know what? It's about principles over enjoying a particular game. I know some people turn around and say, oh, well, you know, I want this game and I'm not willing to let these things get in the way. But unfortunately, it's a very slippery slope every time you accept something this horrendous. And to be honest, I've got loads of games I could be playing. Oh no, I don't get to play Battlefield 3. Sure, I have no doubt that I'll enjoy Battlefield 3. I love the Battlefield games. But if that's how EA is going to treat its customers, why do they think that I'm just going to roll over and accept that? That's absolute nonsense. As a responsible consumer, it's up to me to put my principles above my potential enjoyment of a title. And my principles say this: you do not take parts of a game that are supposed to be in there on release and make them exclusives to certain retailers on pre-order. That is absolutely unacceptable. In this case, it is far worse than anything I've ever seen before. And the reason is that these are actual, useful items. Yeah? You've got one gun and two add-ons that will be exclusive to these pre-orders. You cannot get them any other way. Now, I have no interest in picking up Battlefield 3 from GameStation or Game. I tend to not buy physical copies of games unless they are significantly cheaper. I tend to buy all my games on Amazon, for instance, if I buy anything physical, and obviously that's usually my console stuff. Why? Because I have Amazon Prime. Why would I not buy from Amazon? And Amazon have excellent customer service, which is far and away better than Game and GameStation, as well as usually having better prices. So I am being punished for my choice of retailer here, because Game and GameStation, who are of course the same company, managed to set up some exclusive deal in the UK. That's unreasonable. Second thing that's unreasonable. I have no doubt that some countries will not have access to this at all. Do you really think EA is going to find a regional retail partner in every country for this? I have no doubt that they won't. They will focus on some of the big markets. They'll probably focus on US, UK, Sweden, maybe a couple of other European countries, maybe Australia if Australia are really lucky this time around, and that'll be it. And there will be plenty of countries that won't have access to this at all, and you will never get access to this stuff. Thirdly, it won't unbalance the game. There is no evidence to suggest that that is not the case, and even if there were, it's not the point. Let's just say it would unbalance the game. And I'm basing this on the fact that in their marketing material that they put out for the Physical Warfare pack, they said that the flash suppressor for the sniper rifle was essential for any forward recon. And it is the only flash suppressor for a sniper rifle in the game. There is no other way to get it. Now, Fletch-It rounds certainly sound more situational, I'll give you that, since they do less damage but they do penetrate light cover, but since we have no idea how much the game is going to rely on light cover, we don't know how powerful they are. We only have the word of DICE that says, oh, it won't unbalance the game. And of course, we have no idea how powerful that LMG is either. It doesn't matter if it's imbalanced or not. It doesn't matter if these things are powerful or not. They are physical items that should have been in the game from release. They have been taken out. You cannot get access to them any other way. And why? To make more money, yeah? To butter up a couple of games retailers, most of which do not have a great reputation, I might add. Game is not well liked in this country by any gamer, and I don't blame them. They are pretty much as bad as GameStop in the US, who are no doubt getting a similar deal. And let's be honest, who really likes GameStop? Very, very few people. And I don't blame them, because they have extremely shady business practices and terrible customer service. This is by far the worst example of this kind of behavior I've ever seen. Now, before that, the worst ones we've had are either, oh, you get some exclusive cosmetic stuff if you pre-order from certain places, or you can get either a head start or an early unlock. To me, the only one of these that is even remotely acceptable, and that's still, I might add, taking away from development time that should be spent to make the game good for everybody, not just a select number of people, is the cosmetic thing. For instance, I've got Brink, and I happen to pre-order Brink from Direct to Drive. The reason I actually did that is because I could get 25% off it, but I also got a pre-order pack which had a couple of extra cosmetic items, like for instance, one of the submachine guns was made available in a second form, exactly the same stats, but it was reskinned to have a Cacodemon on it from Doom. And I also got the Caesar revolver, which, as far as I can tell, is exactly the same as the Ritchie revolver, but it's a different skin. I also got the suppressor, which is exactly the same as the silencer, but it looks a little bit different. So, the cosmetic stuff, kinda cool. I did not pre-order it for that reason, but I happened to get that stuff anyway, so that's kinda neat, I guess. When it comes to collector's editions, I'd prefer them to actually contain some useful physical items or entirely cosmetic vanity stuff. Obviously, when it's a physical edition, it's much easier to give you physical items like art books, like little trinkets, and all that kind of good stuff. When it's a digital edition, I would prefer vanity stuff and vanity stuff alone. I do not like getting items which are overpowered. I hated, for instance, getting all of those items with Dragon Age 2. Like, oh, I'm going to use these items. Oh, God, these are more powerful than anything I'm going to get for 6+ hours. Same with Dawn of War 2 and stuff like that. I did not use the items that I was given. And it's kind of hard to resist, honestly. It really is. Like, oh, look at how powerful this item is. But it does ruin the progression of the game. In this case, however, they are taking items that are in the game, and they are just saying, well, you can't have them because you had the tenacity and the gall to purchase from a vendor that was not pre-approved by us. This is especially bad for PC, because most PC gamers now are buying digitally, or they're buying off online retailers. They're not buying from physical brick-and-mortar stores, which is what Game and GameStation are. And if they're ordering from an online retailer, they're not ordering from that. They're ordering from either Play.com or Amazon.co.uk or Zavi, for instance, or The Hut. Those are a lot of the popular online retailers that sell electronic media. And then, of course, what happens to the people on Steam, or indeed even the EA store, for God's sake, which perhaps might have something different. Will they have the physical warfare pack? Will they have another kind of warfare pack that picks even more content out of the game? How is that acceptable? There is a line that has to be drawn somewhere as to how acceptable pre-order bonuses is, and this is way beyond that. So there is no way I'm purchasing this game in that state. And I find it extremely important to stand by that as a responsible consumer and someone that does not want to see this kind of behavior repeated. Bear in mind, I have said frequently that gamer boycotts are usually ineffective. There's two reasons for that. One, because gamers as a group, as a collective, are generally incapable of expressing their opinion in a sound, cogent manner without sounding childish and angry. There's been plenty of examples of this. And secondly, because most gamers don't actually have a spine. So, as we saw with the Modern Warfare 2 thing, as we saw with the Left 4 Dead 2 thing, people caved completely at the first sign of the game being available and seeing all their friends playing. It's like, screw it. However, this is very relevant. There was a similar boycott for Bad Company 1 for the Xbox and PS3. And that worked. EA were planning to sell guns as micropayment DLC. There was a boycott planned, there was a nicely coordinated campaign done, and EA dropped the plans. I don't know if it's even possible to drop them here, because they probably already made these arrangements with Game and GameStation, and if they won't drop them, then I'm sorry, but I'm not playing your game. My personal enjoyment is not as important as the state of the industry, and if we continue to accept consumer-unfriendly practices, then we will get reamed. We will get nickel and dimed at every possible opportunity. Why? Because we let it happen. And how long is it before you come along to something that you personally find unacceptable, and then it's too late to be able to stop anything like this, because the market has just been primed and plowed for all it's worth in this regard, and people just cannot stand up and say, no, actually, this game, as fun as it is, does not conform with my personal principles, and I am willing to sacrifice this game for my principles. Because, let's be honest, principles are way more important than owning a copy of a video game. This one comes in from Gabriel. It says, thanks to your Duke Nukem videos, I decided to get Duke 3D just to try it out, and I found it really amazing. I really love these fast-paced FPS games, and the game reminded me of a long time ago when I was hooked on Quake 3 Arena. But it also got me thinking, why are no new games as fast-paced as these old shooters? Some examples can be the old Quake and Doom games, the old Duke Nukem game, the old Medal of Honor games. Almost every old FPS was fast-paced, but no, new shooter is anywhere near as fast-paced as the old ones. Why is that? I figured it might be something to do with the games being designed for consoles as well. The games can't be as fast as before because controllers don't turn and aim fast enough. It's just a thought, maybe I'm wrong. But why do you think that modern FPS games aren't as fast-paced as they were in the old days, and would you like a new fast-paced FPS game with modern graphics? Yes, I would, and by the looks of it, it's coming out in the form of Serious Sam 3 BFE. It's odd, really, because I remember not too long ago that these kind of games did come out on consoles. For instance, I own Quake 3 Arena and Unreal Tournament for the Dreamcast, and they ran at the same speed as they did on PC. No problems at all. I own Duke Nukem 3D and Quake for the Sega Saturn. They also run as fast as you would expect. Unreal Championship was on the old Xbox, as was Painkiller, I might add. Those ran fast. It's just recently with the latest generation of consoles where this has actually started to happen. And I'd say Halo is fairly fast-paced. It's not quite as quick as Quake 3 Arena. I mean, Quake 3 Arena and Quake Live are unbelievably quick. They are probably the fastest FPS currently on the market, certainly in terms of multiplayer gameplay. It's more down to the fact that these games aren't actually getting made anymore. It's more about the Modern Warfare style of things, more about the Call of Duty style of things. That's what people actually want at the moment, and that's what's actually selling. And I believe, due to market research, developers are saying, no, we can't make a game like this, and of course publishers are saying, if one does try, no, you can't do this, we're not greenlighting it, because it won't sell. Because this is what is currently selling, these slower shooters. And that's kind of unfortunate. I think that it certainly has something to do with console controls, because, of course, they are quite reliant on auto-aim, and yes, they are not as accurate as a mouse and keyboard. I don't really see why these games aren't coming out on PC. Hell, an indie developer could put one together. There are so few, it's just bizarre. I think perhaps it is a cyclical kind of thing, and it comes down to the fact that those shooters are just not popular at the moment, and it will come round to them being popular again. I mean, a while ago, point-and-clicks we thought were dead, and of course, they made a big comeback. I would like to see fast-paced deathmatch gameplay come back to PC, certainly. I think an indie developer could absolutely do that. And I'm kind of surprised that we haven't seen more games, say, done in the Unreal Tournament 2004 engine, which is not very expensive to license. And aren't Epic Games allowing you to license a version of the Unreal 3 engine to do stuff with? And it's a fairly reasonable deal for indie devs as well. I think there's all sorts of possibilities, and they're just not coming out. I don't know why that is. And trust me, I'll be keeping an eye out on Serious Sam 3 and hoping that that actually fills our needs for a fast shooter. But yes, it's like all of these shooters are arthritic these days. They're past their best. They're just hobbling along trying to make it, and that is depressing. Okay, folks, that is me done for the day. Thank you very much for watching the Mailbox. Email in mailbox@cynicalbrit.com with topics for future shows. I'll see you next time.